Alrighty then, back once again for another reaction. This time it's Once Upon a Time, Season 1, Episode 14. I've managed to download an episode and I'm going to be watching it, and hopefully I'll have time to watch Episode 15 tonight as well, but if I don't, then I don't. Last time, heartbreak. For multiple people, including myself, because I've grown to become attached to these characters in ways that I didn't even think was possible so soon. Like, you know, as I've gone through this series, I've expressed a great like for it. Several scenes have really got to me. Like, I really appreciate everything about it. And the thing is, after spending 3 weeks away from it, I was not expecting to be so emotionally shattered by what happened in the episode that greeted me on my return. That to me said it all about the quality of this show. I mean, I was already convinced of it, but I think it really puts it into a whole new perspective when you can have been cold turkey on the show and then you watch another episode and it all comes flooding into you. And you care just as much as you did before. That speaks to how well written and produced this series actually is. Like, I felt so sorry for everybody who got heartbroken. David slightly less so, because he was kind of an idiot, although you can at least understand why he did what he did. But for the sake of drama, it was the wrong decision. But I'm happy that Emma and August seem to be getting off on a good foot. You know, they've started bantering and warming up to each other a little bit, so that's cool. You know, he seems pretty genuine. I'm hoping that there's nothing nefarious going on with him, because as I said, Rumpel and the Evil Queen are enough villains to deal with. I'd much rather we just kept focused on them in the antagonistic department. Speaking of which, we haven't seen Rumpel in a while. At least, obviously, I haven't seen him in a while in terms of time, but obviously he was in episode 12 quite prominently. But what I'm saying is he's my favourite, and I'd like to see him appear again. But yeah, don't know what to expect. Obviously, I never look at the titles, so we're gonna get right into this while I have the time. Okay, I'm not worried, okay? I'm not worried. I'm sure it's gonna come out eventually that there's a double cross going on within... I've already forgotten his name, the black guy, I'm sorry. There's gonna be... I think that's gonna come out, and then something to do with being a set-up phone call kind of thing. I'm not worried for David in the slightest. He's not going to jail. Emma's going to realise it. But the main point of this episode was it was a grumpy episode. And as I established, he is one of my favourite characters so far. And this episode only heightened him in my standings. Because you see, he's got this like heart of gold underneath that tough shell. And he's like... such a sweet boy that only wants to impress the girl he likes, so, you know, do something nice for her, even if it means lying, which obviously bit him in the ass at first, but he found a way to make it work. I'm glad they found a way to make it work, because the way in which he did it was pretty badass. I have to admit, I'm just gonna trip the power. Now you have no choice but to buy our candles. That was very good. I also got my wish in seeing Rumpel again, although it was only for a brief cameo, but I don't care, he showed up. That automatically makes it a great scene. The way he's acted is always fantastic. Yeah, I'm glad that Mary seems to be getting a little bit into the clear now. The town is starting to go a little bit easier on her after this whole thing. Like, even in real life, if somebody does something, I'm pretty sure a village doesn't just shun you. Like, there's still a community that goes on and you're very much a part of it. I think unless you're like a child toucher or something, like you don't ever just suddenly become non-communal with your community. Like, you have to have done something incredibly shitty, and I don't think that's enough. People do crappy things in relationships all the time, and I don't think something on that level is enough to ruin someone's relationship with a whole town. So I'm glad that they didn't hold on to that for too long, if that's what that scene at the end is meant to be implying, that they are, like, coming around to her again. Like, I hope that's the case. It seemed to be symbolised with how the tramp was faded on the car. Obviously it's because David had helped with washing it for a bit, but I think it's meant to symbolise that that label will soon be going away. And I'm really happy for her, because I couldn't stand to see her being miserable in bed for the rest of the series. But Grumpy's whole backstory was fascinating to me, because obviously you grow up with the tale of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and the Seven Dwarfs are all their set personality types, and that's it. From the moment they were conceptually created on the screen, they've just been known as that. No further depth. It's just their character trait, their one character trait, and that's who they are. This deeper, more complex version of Grumpy is everything I love about a development and an original take on a character. Oh my goodness. To start as his entirely different, Dreamy, an entirely different person, and then through his, inner rage at the loss that he was feeling from having to give up what it was his true love, to then have that turn him into Grumpy, that is excellent character building. Oh, and such an original idea to introduce the fact that, with a radical enough change to their core or their personality, a dwarf can change names. It's whatever is the most prominent thing about them at the current time. So I really hope that once Grumpy eventually finds happiness, because I'm assuming this show is eventually going to give everyone a happy ending, at least that's what I hope, he will change his name again. And it will become Dreamy again. That's at least my hope, that the end of his character arc is becoming Dreamy. And that is not a euphemism for how his lady sees him. But like I said, Astrid and Nova, two very, exotic Greek-like, powerful names. I like that. Very beautiful, unique names. And the whole thing about letting her continue to be a fairy or she'd lose her wings, that kind of thing. He really had no choice, because the poor fool only wants what's best for the lady he loves and not himself. That is true love, to be fair. Putting them above yourself is what true love is all about, and that's what makes it so tragic that he has to defy that true love by... it's such a wonderfully complex scenario to find yourself in, and they did such a great job of selling it, especially with the Firefly tie-in above the village and the candles. Really cool. Yeah. Of course, the main thing that annoyed me in this episode was it always comes down to lying when... you really should just be honest with people, especially if you want them to like you. Don't lie to their face, come on. I mean, you shouldn't lie in general, but don't just, come straight out with something like that to their face. It's so painful, because it's gonna backfire, and dude, if only, but it is what it is. He actually made it right, which is very rare. I love that he made it right so quickly by teaming up with Mary and then figuring it out at the last moment. I need to just cut the power. What a brilliant plan that was. Well, yeah. I think that's all I wanted to talk about. Yeah, we saw Gold again. David is in trouble, but I guarantee he won't be in trouble for long unless I'm wrong. Feel free to mock me. And we got some excellent stuff about Grumpy. Wow. Yeah, I was not expecting this, but it is very welcome, and I must say that my current character ranking goes Gold, then Grumpy, and who do I want to place at number 3 on the podium at this moment in time? Someone I really enjoy seeing on screen. I think so many characters have a 3-way tie for that one. I only know my main top 2. I think there's a massive tie going on for third and below. Because everyone gets sort of an enjoyable moment whenever they come on screen, and you sometimes try and remember which ones had the absolute most bomb-ass moments that stand out to you, and I just keep getting gold scenes coming to mind. Maybe Regina. I did used to say about how Regina's performances rivaled Rumpel's, you know. Yeah, that's my top 3. That's my top 3. I love how, like, dynamically evil and well acted she is, and how she tries to manipulate everything going on around her with such good acting. Like, so yeah, I think my top 4, in fact, because we can't discount Emma. So my final top 4: Rumpel, Grumpy, Regina, and Emma. Emma has only slipped in the rankings a little bit because she hasn't been as active and involved as she was a little bit earlier on, because we've been taking more of a time out to focus on other characters, which is good. One of the main strengths about this show is it's got several characters worth exploring and following, and they like to make the most of their imagination and time available. So I actually really appreciate that, and it makes me look forward to the next episode. So I shall see you guys next time.